Will they step up to the plate? Can they deal with the targeting against Cuz that I think no doubt should come out of Samsung? At least Longzhu will have 2 times on the blue side. That should help them out this time.
But on the red side, it's a lot harder to target out a jungler when you have Zac, Caitlyn still as kind of guaranteed bans. Over in the rest of the world, we see Zac and Caitlyn starting to drop in terms of ban priority, but still those champions have plenty of success. And there's even more riding on the line for Samsung, as I believe Ambition mentioned that if they can win, they get more vacation and he gets to see his wife a little longer. So the power of love right behind Samsung, and nothing more powerful than that. Wouldn't you agree, Valdez?
I would. I'd agree. I think we're on the same page here. But the Caitlyn coming out as a ban on the side of Longzhu is quite interesting. You would think they could definitely just pick up the Kalista for Prey, who's currently 5-0 on that pick, and go with the first pick, but it seems like they're maybe wanting to steal away the Maokai. So the Jace comes out here, and those are 2 big picks that are still available, Kalista and the Maokai.
And here's the cool thing about leaving Kalista up, because it is such a guaranteed pick that all these teams have been taking, that it's very easy for you to rehearse this and think of a game plan, because you think, well, if we just give Kalista up, we know with more certainty than other picks that they will 100% lock it in. Let's let him have it, and we can make sure that we get what we want. And I appreciate what Samsung have done here. The Gragas, the jungler that does so much for a team, does so much for Orianna, and against it, remove it immediately. He's also great against Kalista as well. And then you have the strongest mid laner right now, at least the one that offers the highest synergy with these tanks and can bop back lines like no other.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't paying attention. Maokai was actually banned, so obviously not going to be the pick for Samsung, as they are not afforded that one. This is banned away. So Gragas Orianna comes out. Sejuani here for Cuz.
Probably a Rakan as well. I'd be surprised to let Samsung take it, but Core JJ does have a wide champion pool, so there's plenty of picks that they can go for themselves. The Rakan would make sense if they want to go with a lot of engage, but just full-on comfort for the side of Samsung, as Ruler will be taking that Varus away. They don't want to give up anything just yet. They want to make sure that they have their core, and this is already a pretty solid core. You've got hard engage, you've got good scaling, you've got plenty of utility in this lineup, so Samsung getting exactly what they want. And I think that Longzhu have done so as well, because the BDD Taliyah will help out Khan in whatever split pusher he opts to go, even though 3 have already been banned.
Yeah, the Taliyah the most played for BDD, the Sejuani so far undefeated for Cuz, although he's only 2-0. I believe he played both of those games against Jin Air in recent times, so seems to be one of his bigger pickups.
It's like an Animorph.
It says Ankimoti up in the top right, for you guys who are curious.
What does that mean?
You'll learn eventually, Crumbs.
Is it not suitable for broadcast? Just let me know that much. Okay.
Well, kind of.
They just showed it. Wait, they just showed it, so it can be written, but it can't be said.
Well, you know how in Japanese there's kimotsu, right? There's that. So that's how you don't know.
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know where we're going with this one, but that is what was written on the sign, saying she's feeling good about the Kazakhs pick, about Cuz.
Like feeling
on some of those
really
picks.
Good?
Yes, exactly.
Really, really good?
Yes. Yes,
okay, I see where it's going.
Well, we skipped over all the bans. You guys can see them down there. Definitely a target against that Rakan that Gorilla has been picking up, as well as a Kennen and Zyra ban, so they wanted to take that away from the side of Samsung.
But the Braum being taken away, we've seen what Key was doing on Braum against Taliyah, just blocking with the wall. The Unbreakable can actually block the Weaver as well, so making sure that you can deny that big team fighting tool that so often do we see have plenty of impact in a fight, but then it also is the kind of counter against what Crown had been doing in their series against Rocks Tigers. The Unbreakable was just ruining his Orianna's day, and already we have 2 teams with 2 completely different identities. Samsung going with their classic team fight composition, and while Longzhu retain elements of a team fight with Taric and the Sejuani, it's going to be mostly up to Khan to split push. Now that he has a Jax, he's got Taliyah by his side, attention into the top side, whereas the opposing team will be likely going to the bottom side of the map. And Cuvée is no stranger to Gnar, but this matchup, again, under the pressure of Jax will falter when it comes down to the Mega Gnar against Mini, because there's just not enough damage there. And then Mini Gnar, if he's maxing out the Counter-Strike, will not be able to proc Hyper as many times as he would like. So overall, Jax, the same deal. He will win in the late game, as always, in the 1v1.
You know, Jungle Jax this time around, we saw Verade bringing that out a couple of times. Malrong
Don't remind me of
able
that
to make that work.
monstrosity
Hey
of
man, it looks good.
Cinder Hulk Jungle Jax. Full tank.
Yeah, dude. Not the Jax that you would expect, but it was a good Jax. At least it worked out against MVP. So Longzhu, they're going to deny that. They're going to say, no, we don't want to go for the Jungle Jax. We'll just have Khan on that pick. And what do you think about the Gnar? I haven't really been too impressed overall in LCK Summer ever since it came in.
It's a good pick for you to maintain pressure against Jax. You don't have many other tools that would legitimately reach a point that can stay in lane against him. A tank could work, as Cho'Gath was still available, but he would just get bopped at one point, and Jax would just ignore him at all times. Whereas Gnar, you can't really ignore him. He will continuously harass you under the tower if you start to just whack it, ignoring him. He has kill pressure. He can chase you down if he goes with Mallet. There's plenty of team fighting capabilities on him, so it makes sense for the pick. Kled could have been another one, but it would have made the 1v1 that much harder. So I like what Samsung have done, but also what Longzhu, two teams with two identities that have been what they have been played throughout the entire split, culminating in the final game of LCK regular season.
Here we go, guys. The series is beginning. As we go into game number 1, Samsung versus Longzhu. Who is going to take the lead in this extremely important one? Let's hop onto the Rift and find out. Here we go. Game number 1 has begun. As the Nexon Arena is even more filled out, even though all the tickets were sold out for both of the matches tonight. This is most certainly the more important matchup.
There's people on the floor. There's no, there's not really.
There's people hanging from the ceilings. How did they get there? We'll never know.
BDD, he's been known as the KDA monster, but just how much KDA does BDD have? Well, we've got the number right here for you. And in his 29 wins and 13 losses, he has maintained a 10.7 KDA. And it's not like he's been skipping out on damage or kill participation, because he also has a 78% kill participation.
What?
I mean, he has just been so crucial to Longzhu, and it's not so much that he has just been godly, which he has been playing great, but that the team revolves around him. They make the most out of the pressure that he applies onto the mid lane. He's played a lot of Galio as well as a Taliyah, so many champions that assist teams, and then Orianna, the third one. So already 3 picks that one helps the split pushes on the side, the other one also helps out and can assist the allies with the ultimate, and then Orianna obviously with the shield. So you can argue that some of the stats get padded by playing those specific champions, but overall he has been rock solid for Longzhu.
He definitely has been, and we were looking towards him as the big new hype guy on campus. Everybody had talked about him, especially in spring. They were like, why does Fly keep coming out? Why doesn't BDD play? This guy is a solo queue monster. Lots of talk about him, and then once he finally got his big opportunity on the Longzhu summer lineup, he really did perform, and that's not easy to do. I mean, this guy has been around, but finally did get that opportunity and he made it work, so props to that. Did have a little bit of trouble against KT. I wouldn't say that he didn't hold his own, but he wasn't popping off as he would against some of the lower level teams. So still going to be looking for a bit more of that star power as we get into this. And
ward
here we
that
go.
Longzhu plays. They see this. They're not going to falter in here. Nothing's going to happen. Such an intelligent ward. When the map gets split up, They know they have to ward, not in the try, that people are going to be using the Blast Cone. You saw how Cuz used his own to get over the Krug's wall. He did miss, but the intentions were the same. And this is just Khan kind of faking it that there is a gank up here. As even though Cuvée does have minion wave advantage, his jungler isn't there. It's been already assessed that the map has been divided, so him to engage onto that Jax would have been disregarding the information that his team has given.
The Orianna versus Taliyah matchup. We saw Tempt doing pretty well in the Taliyah tonight. BDD looking to add another win to his already 9-2 win rate on this champion.
Both these guys have crazy win rates, and most of all, the priority that Samsung have onto Crown's Orianna is great. Last time, they first picked it over Caitlyn and Kalista. Granted, that series did favor Orianna more than any other series we've had recently, so the pick was understandable. But still, it has been so important for Samsung and Crown overall that it appears to just have become Crown's new Victor pick, the one that he always defers to, the one that he can always fall back on. It has been his most played, and he is 6-1 on it. However, it's not as easy to get as the Victor that he had before, and he's not quite at the level where he's outplaying people and has a Victor, or rather an Orianna, that is so far above the rest that it's always ban-worthy regardless of the meta.
Yeah, Orianna is definitely one of those champions that never seems to get banned in the first banning stage. You know, we see it every so often once you do get into the second one, but even then you see other picks such as Taliyah or, you know, Galio, if it does get to that point, be kind of taken away. But the Orianna definitely has seen a lot of play in LCK so far.
Just a full-on, steadfast farm fest for these teams, although Cuz has been farming a little harder than Ambition, and he didn't not see the ward. He placed the barrel to make sure that you can have full sight as to where the opposing jungler is, and the lull has reached all of us.
We're sustaining a bit of damage, but they will trade it back. Just got a improved heal after a couple of patches as well to make him more relevant early game. Definitely seeing a lot more Taric picks because of some of the changes, and also because of the team fighting that we see a lot. Definitely is one of the best ultimates if you can time it correctly. That Cosmic Radiance makes team fighting quite nice.
And speaking of team fights, let's assess how these two team fights, how these teams will be taking the mid game. You've got Jax 1v1 in Cuvée topside, and then a 4-man unit in the rest. You've got Cuvée, who will have arguably or not even arguably, a bigger influence on the fights with his teleport, but he will be gated by the Mininar and a relentlessly pushing Jax. So for Samsung to win a fight, their opportunities come at Ambition with an Engage or Ruler with a Chains of Corruption. So those are the two tools that they have. As for defensive tools, it solely falls onto Core JJ, whereas Longzhu rely on Prey either initiating with Fate's Call from seriously far away or on Cuz. So I find that Longzhu's Engage will be a lot harder to execute than Samsung's based on the champions that they have.
Okay, we got a fight here in the mid lane. Just a bit of trading. Nobody will fall just yet, but yeah, I would have to agree with you. It's definitely going to be a little bit on the cusp in terms of Longzhu's Engage. Ambition is showing up, saying, hey, want to make sure Crown is very safe and just help him push the lane. As you see he's doing. Cuz also sticking around near this mid lane, trying to clear out some of the vision there with some control wards. So it seems like Longzhu in control there for now.
And they're in control, and I always like to favor the teams that have the easier to execute compositions. When power is simply based on skill, then you side with the one that will have an easier time to pull it off. And that just seems logical to me, to make sure that the guys that have the point and click abilities, the ones that are harder to miss, the ones that are easier to square up, will have a higher chance of success. So Samsung will have no problems reaching that late game, as we know they're always safe to do so, and especially when it comes down to Rue. I think he's been making a case for Varus as a great late game team fighting champion. When Samsung beat SKT multiple times, it so often revolved around Ruler staying alive, barring that time they had Tom Kench for protecting him. But you've got Braum, you've got Orianna, you've got a Gragas that can peel for you, and the Varus, the attack speed that he gets, you know, his weakness is the range, but if he actually gets to just continuously auto you, he also has percent damage in his Blighted Quiver.
Yeah.
He's no stranger to melting down tanks, to killing Squishy, so in the hands of Ruler, he's a valuable pick, and Samsung proves it by continuously picking it for him when nobody else has.
Yeah, you were talking about comfort. I mean, this is by far his most picked. He's 13-5 on this. His next one is Ashe with 5-5. So besides that, you know, he does well in the OP champs, has a good ratio on Twitch as well, but Varus definitely has been the big comfort for him. It's kind of like when Afrika was the one main team that was always running Xayah for Kramer. You can see some similarities here for Ruler's Varus.
Previous to that, they were only running Caitlyn and Ashe, and look at how smart Samsung is this game. I think we're going to get to see the late game similar to Afrika versus Jinair that we saw of a 30-minute first blood. Because Merc treads rush on Cuvée, making sure that he's going to be safer against Jax. He doesn't get to get stunned if it were to come through. It makes Kha'Zix ganks that much weaker. Same with Orianna. You get to make the ganks that much weaker. And what value do you get in that? Well, the value that you have from making the ganks weaker is that you stall out the game. Less gank opportunities means that the game slows down, and it benefits the full-on team fighting that Samsung want to look for.
Khan with some smooth moves. Nice side steps up against Cuvée. We have our first fight. The Weaver's wall coming in. CoreJJ in a bad spot. Gonna try to get away with that blasting plant, but there's the Fate's call. In goes Gorilla. The Cosmic Radiance coming down. They will 100% dive this turret. There's one kill. Give it a second. A double kill over to Prey on the Callista. And all of a sudden, Crown now getting caught out. Can he kill Cuz? The smite is gonna keep him alive. The rest of Longzhu on the chase, and the flash coming in. That seismic shove not gonna hit, but can the damage come through? It's very, very close. One more Q, and he does get it. 3 kills on the side of Longzhu and a double over to Prey.
And Samsung take a stroll through the river, but that is dangerous as they all collapse on, and they just not expect that Sejuani would blow the ultimate right onto CoreJJ. Everybody collapsed to try to keep him alive, but it was not enough. Longzhu responded so quickly, and we just got to see the engage of the Fate's Call. Let's look at that one again. It opens up with the ultimate, bam. The Weaver as well is already here, and it looks like they might be making a good getaway, but no, the Fate's Call from Prey was sick. Gorilla gets to hit the stun right at the end, and 2 kills, and while you might have been able to pick up somebody else here right at the end with the Shockwave, maybe Prey, he still has heal, he still has flash, and then BDD takes full advantage of Crown at this moment. Just so cool to watch that they actually commit to this, and then watch how he waits on the seismic shove. He waits patiently, and then once again, okay, I can tank this, just aim carefully. And that's the power of patience. You don't need to weave in auto attacks on your mage. You got to make sure that you're in a better position for your spells, as there is a higher return in those than just lagging behind and using autos here and there.
He waits until Crown has to sidestep it, so he has extra time to throw out more rocks with this Q. And it's hard to argue against Longzhu's mechanics, although as I say that, the Sejuani ult goes wide, but Crown trying to dip and dodge his way out of this one. He will survive at the end of it all. Does get hit by the Weaver's wall, but is okay in the end.
Talk about caster curse. You don't have to, no argument against Longzhu's mechanics. Immediately does Cuz whiff the entire ultimate.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of whiffs on that ultimate, specifically. But yeah, it's true. Prey's, like, when he jumped over the wall as Callista, as well as Fate's calling at the same time and hit the 2 members in a fantastic spot, and then the 3 of them getting, just not getting hit by the shockwave at the same exact time. It's like watching synchronized swimming.
Should that be a sport?
Well, it is a sport, so I guess yes.
Oh,
I know that's not exactly the strongest argument I've ever made, but
you know it's subject to opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those sports that's completely done by judges, as is diving and other water sports.
But there's like, isn't music selection like a choice in this that is taken into consideration? And like outfits?
I don't know that much about that. I do know a bit about figure skating. Sounds pretty similar. I don't know about outfits, though. Outfits.
Actually, yeah, I guess if you count figure skating, you're right. It is a sport.
Okay, because figure skating is a sport, and synchronized swimming is a sport, we figured it out. But Longzhu off to a fantastic start. They get the Ocean Drake on the back of it as well. And it's pretty early on in the game, too, that they do get it, about 13 minutes. So a pretty good Drake to pick up this early on in the game. Going to make laning a breeze for them.
It'll make laning a breeze, but it'll also help out Khan a lot because every time that he will go for an engage onto Cuvée in the later stages in the game, you know that he's going to get chunked out. You'll have to wait back for the waves to hit for everybody to be on the map before returning, and getting an extra bit of HP back will help his endeavor in making sure that the Gnar is constantly under tower and can not teleport anywhere to help out his team. So it's a good trade for them, but now they have to be looking towards towers. How are they going to get towers? I think they're going to be going for bottom side once again, leaving Khan to just farm top side by himself. But the vision will be the indication for us to know where all these teams are going. Already the control wards are left side for Samsung, right for Longzhu, and with Tarek moving in and another control ward in the river, they're looking to make this body of water entirely theirs.
Maybe that's the reason why blue side is so strong, because, you know, the blue wards, they just look so much better in the river compared to the red ones. Wouldn't you think, Crumbs?
I'm thinking that Cuvée might be in trouble, first of all.
Yeah, here we go. We got the Weaver's Wall on the back of this, too, if they want to go for it. But Mega Gnar comes out, he hops out, and he's okay. And see, BDD was making his way up, a very BDD thing to do, as he does on both Taliyah and Galio all the time.
Well, that's how you have to do it, though. You always push up and you move towards the direction that action is happening. If you have the time to do so, why not? As opposed to just lingering in the mid lane, you can always assist your team. You help them out. You make sure that you can collapse if necessary. And super early Trinity Force coming out from Khan with the Trinity Force completed under his belt. He will not be pressure it anymore. Cuvée is going to be under the tower, and he now has to look for a moment to TP. So here it comes, Mallet versus Trinity. Who will win?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I would like to favor Khan in this one.
Yeah, Jax wins.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you were actually asking me, or
it was. I
figured you would know.
I was saying it kind of like a poster, a fight poster that they do for advertising a fight where you have two contenders. It doesn't matter if the fight's going to be one-sided. You always have to ask, who will win? Who will be the victor in here?
When is that McGregor-Mayweather fight?
I think it's at the end of this month.
Okay. Definitely got to tune into that. We were talking about competitive things that you should be watching. Definitely tune in for that, although I'm not sure how competitive it will be. And look at this Frozen Mallet doing work, though, forcing that ultimate to be used by Khan, who is still on the run. The Counter-Strike finally coming out, but Cuvée still on the chase with that Frozen Mallet. He's linking it up. There's the flash, and the solo Q coming in for Cuvée. The solo kill, not the solo Q, but that looked like solo Q, man.
Well, we just got smacked in saying that Jax was going to be able to win that. We got to see how it all started, though, because Cuvée had already chunked out Khan. I have to imagine that Khan was getting greedy for the wave, took a little too many auto attacks from Cuvée, and then just got bopped in the end. This is why the Gnar is a strong pick into the Jax. You can always trade back damage, unlike other tanks, other carries that don't have that many tools to kite him around or DPS him down. Mini Gnar form does a lot of damage to anybody with a lot of HP, so he gets taken out, and now Cuvée is going to be able to take down first brick by himself.
Wow.
The Jax train is falling apart.
What a start here. It was looking good for Longzhu with 3 kills going their way, but then one small play by Cuvée turns into quite a big one at the end of the day. The solo kill into the First Blood turret, and a Fed Gnar to begin for Samsung.
So for Khan to make it back into this matchup, he's going to need a Blade of the Ruin King. Absolutely, you need that life, so you need to be able to kite. If he remains auto-attacking, so let's take a look at this one again. Okay, so he jumps in, yeah. So jumping in, that's not going to be the end of it all. What does he do that? Does he jump in again? Yeah, okay. He jumps in without Counter-Strike again. Yep. All right, he's just asking for trouble. What was that, Khan? Yeah, okay. See, now that sways the matchup entirely. That was just his own fault.
Nice pre-flash here by Cube. He knew the flash would come out. He's like, no, you're not going to wait for me this time.
Yeah, because that shouldn't happen. It should be that they just farm happily. Only when the order has been broken does one die, and we question why. Well,
we've said that Khan, he's very mechanically skilled, but when it comes to decision-making, we see at times can falter. It's a pretty rare sight to see. I wouldn't say that he's, you know, one of these big rookies that's making mistakes all over the place or anything like that, but definitely you have to think on paper you don't want to be jumping into a frozen Mallet Gnar without Counter-Strike. We got our next Drake. It has spawned. It is going to be Mountain Drake. So Longzhu already being proactive, trying to set down some vision, and they're going to start it right away. For today, they know about this, but Samsung as a unit is not coming near. You can see Ambition is actually doing red buff, so they're just going to hand another one over to Longzhu.
And the reason they start it right away isn't because they have utmost confidence in their composition right now. Sure, in the 5v5, it could be anybody's game right now, but it's because of the vision. They don't waste any time in setting up the vision and immediately starting the objective, because double control wards in the river, they know that they don't have any access points for Samsung to get in without a fight. So they easily just start the dragon, and Samsung have no way to retaliate because it would take too long for them to go back in and clear that objective. So a good play from Longzhu lets them walk away with a dragon, a first turret, and maybe blue buff. No, it goes to Khan.
An empowered attack, but does he have his Counter-Strike? This time he does. Cube, though, is going to hop that wall. He's still on the chase. Okay, not going to go too crazy this time.
But the lane is now clearly favoring Cube. It's going to be up to him for the mechanics. Let's see that Cutlass out of Khan. If he doesn't go... Oh, okay, yeah. This is going to be trouble now. He's not building completely for the 1v1, and that's not going to help him out when dealing with Cube that is already ahead and has a cleaver on top of him. So 2-item spike for Cube. This Jax needs so much longer to scale to make sure that he can keep up with Khan. It's not going to be as bad as not being able to farm and be denied, but it's going to be bad enough that he's not going to be able to fully pressure Jax or the Gnar under tower, which was what Longzhu would have liked to do. He does have BDD to help him out, but how much is BDD willing to sacrifice to help out Khan?
Well, they're still going to be looking for these team fights as a 4-man unit. Will they actually make BDD go down and try to 2v1 at times? If the time is right, perhaps. As the Rift Herald wasn't taken by either team. You can see that the Baron has spawned. We're here at 22 minutes into the game. It's relatively even. Longzhu just ahead by about 900 gold after taking the bot lane turret, their first of the game.
Yeah, see, there's BDD defending the Tri-Brush Ward and triple control wards for Khan in the bottom side. So he's going to have a field day when it comes to pushing safely against Cube. And he doesn't have anybody on his side of the map, but he's still capable of 1v1, and they just need sight of every member, and then the bot lane can unravel into a bloodbath.
Longzhu, they need to clear out some of this vision. You can see a tricky ward by Samsung to the left of the Baron that will not be spotted out by any control wards. And Longzhu, they have a Mountain Drake, and they have Callista, so the opportunity for them to go for a risky Baron take is definitely there. But Samsung at this point in time would see them go for it. So we'll see if Longzhu, like many other teams before them, will take the risky play and go for it. Doesn't look like it just yet, perhaps later on in the game.
You know, that would be near suicidal. Right now, it's the match for first place. The implications here of safe play go far beyond a solid draft. It's got to be that these teams are playing cautiously, that they're not making any large mistakes that could end the game completely. If a team is confident in their abilities right now when the gold is even, they could just say, we don't need to take a high-risk, high-reward objective. We can play it out slow and know that we will triumph in the very end. So going for a Baron would be just that, because if they mess it up, if they have some oversight, if they don't take all the wards out, perhaps don't use their sweepers in the best spot, or even get out of position, the game could be over in a matter of seconds. You lose the Baron, Jax pushes, Gnar pushes, and it's GG.
Yeah, and speaking about wards, there is a very nice, almost perfect control ward by Samsung at the blue buff. It hasn't been spotted by anybody on the side of Longzhu, so if they wanted to go for it now, it would certainly be suicide. We'll see if Cuz can scout that out. Nope, doesn't look like it. Just runs right by it. So that control ward's going to be there for the majority of this mid game. Will be nice for teleports out of Cuvée if they can line it up.
Look at the control that Longzhu have over the river. It's like you've got a bunch of antiques laying in the river there with all the wards to make sure that nobody else can see the treasure that is hidden underneath. And if they clean this out, I don't think they'll start it still, because that control ward that you've mentioned that Samsung have placed can truly only be used if Samsung were to collapse onto the Baron from probably the right side of the Baron pit, because Longzhu would then be forced to retreat either top or left, and then Cuvée could collapse. Whereas if they engage from the top side, then Gnar would have a much harder time finding an angle to hit everybody. And you can see just how much attention BDD is paying onto this lane. Wait a second.
Okay, they're looking for this. They force that flash out of Crown, and the Glacial Prison comes out and locks him down too. So they use 2 ults here for that flash. But look at this, getting up to Cuz, the Cosmic Radiance at the end of it, as well as his flash will keep Cuz alive, but he's very, very low.
They are not going to not retaliate when it comes to taking your mid laner's flash. They gotta have something out of it, and at least getting Cuz's flash is a pretty big deal. Unfortunately, he does have a Warmogs already, so he's going with the build that Ambition himself was starting, which is Warmogs into that Gargoyle Stoneplate, making the Sejuani a beefy frontline that can soak up as much damage as possible and return to the front line on cue. And back to the point of BDD and Jax. Every time that Jax is in the tower, BDD moves towards him.
Okay, we got this fight coming on. Khan is down a level, but he has red buff. Look at how much damage he's outputting. Cuvée just trying to build up that meter if he can, but it's not going to be enough. One-on-one, Khan will win. And down he does go. Crown is making his way over. Wants to finish up this kill. Not sure if he can even 1v1 him still. So yeah, he's just going to back off. Khan going to win the 1v1. And fantastic. Ruler now forced to flash away from the Taric stun. That was quite close, but here comes the Weaver's Wall. They want Ruler, and he is a sit and duck. Down he goes, and Cortez A2 getting caught out. That's a couple kills off of the back of Khans. And Longzhu running away with this one now.
Their patience has paid off perfectly. They wait for Cuvée to overstep in the bottom side. The red buff from Khan is enough to get the 1v1 kill. And then this was the 3rd attempt onto a pick in the red side jungle. First it was Ambition 2 times. Actually, 4th, they had tried on Crown earlier as well. And then they combo the Weaver's Wall. They make sure that they can get Ruler flashing over the wall, but it just was not enough. And the resilience here, they didn't even take that tier 1 down. They just kept looking, and it worked out. The angle from Taric is too deadly. They flash over, but as soon as BDD commits onto this one, you see just how much damage he does onto Ruler. He just got deleted immediately, and Kalista wasn't even a part of this one, just until the very end. She shows up and takes out Brahman. Now this Jax is going to be strong enough to 1v1 the Gnar under the tower. He's not going to be able to just blatantly dive him, but if he messes up the rage management again and loses out on Mega Gnar form, he might end up dying.
It's funny how just one small step in the wrong direction for Ruler means that he has to flash, and then he can't get away from a seismic shove on the follow-up. And just a small move like that, it gets your support caught. And all it takes is just one series of events, unfortunate series of events, for Samsung to now be in a very defensive position, because even though the gold lead doesn't look too big right now, it is about 4,000 in the favor of Longzhu. With this Baron, they'll be looking for a lot more objectives. They're not going to go for the Cloud Drake. They want to take out turrets, and so that top one is a target. This mid one is a target. Khan by himself is still down near bot side, and they're looking to snowball this as much as possible.
And when you look at the VOD review for Samsung, the face-checking endeavors, it's a complete team element. The vision game needed to be refined. It couldn't be what it was there, where you have Ruler going by himself, Ambition by himself, that they spent so much time without being able to clear out anything in the river, that Longzhu can look for that many attempts repeatedly. And that relentless approach to finding picks ends up paying off. It was the 4th time that they looked for it that they got the reward that they wanted in hell. It's the biggest reward you can get, save from taking an inhibitor and ending the game.
Samsung can't even protect their tier 2s now. That's going to be the 3rd turret that has fallen after this Baron. And now Crown is sticking around here. You got Cuz coming around the backside. We're not seeing it just now. Here we go. Stun coming in. It's immediately cleansed, and the Shockwave keeps him alive for now. Have Longzhu gone too far? The cast is going to hit BDD into the wall, but Gorilla flashing forward with that Cosmic Radiance would have kept him alive had BDD not flashed. And they do get out scot-free.
They do, but they lose so much pressure on the map as Longzhu continues to push, and they lost 3 critical ultimates. Hell, they lost 4 if you count Nars, and that just means that Longzhu can continue to be aggressive, as Taliyah will just have to base, and it appears that Longzhu has exhausted their efforts here, as they will just get a Cloud Dragon in the very end of this Baron play, and now sitting at a 8,000 gold lead. This game is looking all Longzhu's, although still, you cannot count Samsung out. You think that they're out, but they're never really down for the count. This team is resilient when it comes to the late game, and their composition can do so, but it will cost Longzhu some mistakes for Samsung to get to that point. It's not going to be all completely up to them to win this game.
Yeah, they certainly do have a nice bit of wombo combo potential if they can get Gragas into a good spot and get a money Shockwave. Also Gnar, if you can time it well enough with his ultimate, Mega Gnar form. Would be nice. It's good on paper, but actually executing it is going to be the hard part. You're going up against a 3-0 Prey, and look at that. Crown actually put on the left side. They're looking for an engage onto him, actually. Fate's Call is blown, but nothing going to happen.
You know what I want to see as an interaction? Yasuo ulting off knocking somebody with Taliyah wall. I'm not sure if possible.
I think it is, right?
It should be.
They're knocked into the air, so anything that knocks you into the air, even for just a moment.
It could also be spaghetti code in that it's not registered as a knockup.
There is also that possibility, I suppose, but I haven't tested it myself. Don't see too many Yasuos in the higher levels of Korean solo queue.
You know, if there was full-on sandbox mode, I would be testing random crap all the time. Be my hobby. And speaking of hobbies, Khan is just pushing bottom lane non-stop. I don't think he's grouped just yet with his team.
That's not necessarily his hobby. It's his full-on job.
Exactly. And that's what we want to see out of Jax's. Longzhu's finally playing to Jax how we expect Jax to be played. You put pressure on the side lanes, and then the rest of the team works as a 4-man unit. And this is how this champion ought to be played, and they're doing so wonderfully. So anybody that wants to play Jax as a team ought to look to this game to make sure that they understand how Khan is playing in accordance to the pressure that the team is putting on the map. So the Jax has been played well. The 4-man unit from Longzhu is too. And just barely skinning by without getting caught is exactly as far as you want to be pushing. Because now that there is no chains of corruption, they can push a little safer. They can control more vision. And Samsung once again on the back foot when it comes to defending their jungle.
Yeah, no inhibitors taken just yet. But a very strong push up in the top side as that turret is getting lower and lower. Mega Gnar form is going to keep Cuvée okay underneath his turret for this push, but it's just this 3-lane push that you can never quite hold off when you're this far behind. That might be the bane of Samsung for now. BDD in mid with his Weaver's Wall, the Khan down in bottom side with a TP if he ever needed it. And Praying Gorilla with Cuz hanging by up in the top side.
The strength of the 3-lane push is that while it's greedy and you get spread out, you get more resources. You don't miss out on any minion waves. You have initial access to every minion in the jungle. So you get all the gold on the map, whereas the opposing team has to move around to defend. They don't get any jungle CS. They're always on the back foot, and you slightly build your gold lead here and there. And now that 8,000 gold lead is now 10,000 gold. So Longzhu's approach has been effective, and here comes the wall.
Oh, they're trying to get out of there as much as possible, but it's blocked by Core JJ. But again, this gives some time to knock up onto Callista, though. Prey's getting low. He flashes away. And now they're going to have Cuz, who is going to dash. But the Cosmic Radiance, he does come out just in time and is able to Glacial Prison, Ruler, and Crown away from that fight. And a successful disengage, although close, for Longzhu.
They get 2 flashes, but Longzhu is on the retreat to Baron. There's not enough vision for Samsung to fully get inside the red side jungle and clear this back. So they're still in the back, but when it comes to defending the next biggest objective, which could yield an inhibitor for either one of these 1-3-1 pushes.
Longzhu is getting frisky. They're getting aggressive here in mid, and now even Prey hopping forward. Cuz trying to engage from the right side. Core JJ makes it out, even with all those Ren stacks. Good Shockwave is going to get Gorilla extremely low. He flashes away from the barrel, and Ambition on the run. They need him alive, but the last threaded volley, so close. He does stay alive, and in the end, it's Cuz who goes down as the jungler. Now Prey is being shut down here by Cuvée. He's being tracked down with that Frozen Mallet. Can they take out the Callista, who's kiting for days? Cuvée getting low, but there's the engage with the Megadar back into his team. They get 1, they get 2, and Cuvée, he stays alive with that Guardian Angel, and that is a huge play for Samsung coming back in this one.
That's gonna be Baron. Samsung's back in this game out of a 10,000 gold lead. Now they're completely back in this, and the team fighting capabilities are back online, and it all started from a bit of a greedy play from Longzhu. They're trying to get a little bit more, but remember, that fight that they went into the top side was where it all began. It didn't just randomly happen into the mid lane. Callista had no flash, and most of all, Taric did not have his ultimate available for this. So the teleport is coming out, or Jax isn't even here rather. The TP from Cuvée comes through, and while they're able to lock down Orianna with some damage, the carries are not capable of fully following up. And it looks great at this point. You got Ambition on retreat. One more would have gone in, but Cuz gets greedy, and one man going down is the signal for everybody else to go through. The fact that Cuvée already had a Guardian Angel means that Longzhu have to be so cautious in fighting forward into this one, building up the rage, not retreating immediately, and just a real hero play out of him. You don't need to hit the stun, just get him closer to your team. They might as well be a wall of death.
A true team player. He opens it up for his team, and he made that all possible in the end of it. So Samsung coming back in this one in a big way. They get the Baron, they take out a turret, and now they're going for Elder Drake. They're still 5,000 gold behind, and Longzhu is grouped up, looking to contest this. We'll see what they can do. All the ultimates are available. Gorilla all by himself on the right side. Okay, he's gonna get actually onto Ruler in the back, who just take a bunch of damage. That Shockwave, they need to keep him alive. He's getting low. BDD coming from the backside, but he's alive. Okay, finally he goes down. BDD almost getting lifesteal to death. Now they get onto Crown, and all of a sudden, Longzhu beginning to run away with this one. Ambition getting low, and Prey, he finally goes down, but it does not matter. Longzhu is gonna win in the end.
Samsung's overconfidence is their undoing. They did not have enough flashes to stay alive in that fight, and when you have Khan TPing behind you, you do not have enough peel to protect yourself against an invulnerable Jax. So they kill out the carries, and immediately Samsung's hopes for stalling out this game are somewhat extinguished. They still have some Baron left. They still caught up in a 5,000 gold advantage, but now there's an Elder on the side of Longzhu. The Elder should likely wear off by the time that Baron retreats, so we're going to instead look at the fight again, and it's the teleport that comes through with a great ultimate, and it forces Ruler's Splash immediately because he doesn't have Cleanse right now. And now that Jax is invulnerable. What does he care that he gets Shockwave? It doesn't matter. They leave Ruler to die to BDD, and they just focus down onto Crown that the Cleanse isn't even going to save him at this point on it. The composition that Samsung has absolutely needs the carries to be alive. Otherwise, they're not going to win these fights. That last one was an error from Cuz, the side of Longzhu, and the carries were remaining alive in the backline. So as long as they are not protected, Longzhu will continue to win these fights, but the base has yet to be cracked for the side of Longzhu. So we might be strapping ourselves on for another 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, this is the way it's supposed to be, right? This is what everybody hopes for when they get Samsung versus Longzhu to decide first place versus third place. And I'm certainly enjoying it myself so far. It's been action-packed. And, okay, we got this Elder Drake up. Longzhu, they want to go for a push, it looks like, towards the top side, where that turret is the weakest. And in the meantime, Khan, even without his teleport, is looking to make his way down into the bottom side. Push down there by himself, force a reaction out of Samsung.
The reaction from Samsung will remain the same. Barman for days. There's not enough dive on the side of Longzhu, and they're going to try to zone out Cuvée, but this is why Braum is so good right now. He can stop all of Talia's wall power.
Yeah. It's pretty obnoxious. You see it coming for days, and you're like, okay, I'm Braum, I put up my shields, you have no wall. And they don't just get free turrets out of it. And that's a big part of the reason why Samsung cannot have their base be broken right now, even with the Elder Drake. Here's an opportunity for Khan to get a little bit of damage, but again, the rest of Samsung is there, and there's no push in any other lane. Nobody was up in top for Longzhu to bring anyone up there. Finally, they're going to rotate, but immediately Crown is here for the wave clear. He's got Core JJ for support.
These are the woes of having short-range carries on the side of Longzhu that you can't quite push into the tower. That's why Tristana is so effective. Had this been a Tristana, they would have been able to crack down the base 20 minutes ago, but instead the Kalista needs pressure on the map. They need Longzhu to have vision inside the base, but the control wards that Samsung has been placed so perfectly deep that you just can't auto-attack them from over the wall.
Also look at that control ward that's still alive with the blue buff. Just want to point that out.
Okay, whoever has that one.
Wonder whose is that.
Whoever has that one, you gotta sell. You gotta buy a new ward. What are you doing? That's actually a big mistake. I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, that should not be.
I just think it's cool, you know, but at the same time, it's definitely not the positive result. Okay, we're going in. The shockwave is gonna miss, but Gorilla disappears. Oh boy. Getting a little bit too crazy, getting into the base by himself. He gets picked off.
Vanishing act. Without Ezreal in the game, his life is not worth it. So Tarek takes his life at the hand of Samsung. That's like suicide by cop. That's kind of how it works. So he oversteps, thinking that maybe they can kill Crown, but there's not enough follow-up here. Just the immense damage from Orianna at this stage in the game cannot be handled. That's an Orianna that already has Death Cap and Void, so looking towards another Blasting Wand item on her side, making her. Well, I'm glad they got killed. Finally.
It was probably Cuvé's ward, if I had to guess.
It's still really bad, actually.
I think Ambition would have bought new wards by now. It could be Crowns. You know, from the top side of the map, with how early it was placed, it was probably one of those three members.
But you point out an interesting situation where now we're nearing full builds for multiple members, especially the carries, so the control wards that are available on the map are much less, which means that we're going to get to see face checks, TPs happening out of nowhere, people not being able to know where everybody is, vision that can't be denied, and that makes for some headbanging action that we have been deprived for in aspects of this game, but we might get to see Orianna and Varus shine through, or maybe Prey dance around all the skill shots that Samsung have to throw at them. Whatever the case may be, the team fights are going to be wild.
They're pinging the wards. They see that ward that Khan put down way behind them. Khan doesn't have his TP just yet, but they also did see him recall, which is part of the reason why Samsung did come into this position in the first place.
They ping the ward because they have to recognize that it's alive and they don't have the tools to take it. The management of the red trinkets are important, and here comes an engage.
Oh, coming from multiple sides is Longzhu, but Samsung grouping up as a unit. Prey still available. Really nice space call onto 3 members into the stun. They're going to get it here. Longzhu with the big engage. They got Ambition in the backline. Now Corjay's being hunted down by Khan. Can he get another one? It's going to be Crown versus BDD up in the top side, but this is going to be unfair. It'll be 2v1. The cleanse comes out and Crown cannot survive. That's another member. 3 members of Samsung go down, and now they're looking for the push.
And that's going to be certainly it. Longzhu have plenty of members alive. TP on Khan as well to stall out the minion wave. They've got 30 seconds on Ruler. No summoner still for pretty much anybody except Q-Base Flash. This is going to be their game-winning push.
Man, what a team fight there. You were talking about it. We're going to be looking for that one team fight, and boy, do they get it. The huge surround into all the members of Samsung. There was no escape, and the perfect timed Cosmic Radiance to keep everybody alive. This team fighting composition of Longzhu is going to be able to win it in the end. The final push comes in, the Nexus turrets fall together, and so will the Nexus. Game number 1 of this one will go over to Longzhu.
And they start things off really, and they're able to kill Gnar right at the end. Gets that death timer after the Nexus has been exploded. So not sure if that one will count for the scoreboard. Oftentimes it does not. But Longzhu have such a great game 1. They were so active in getting the fights exactly how they wanted to. We had that lull in the early game talking about how are these fights going to look? Who is going to be the engager? Well, it all came down to Cuz, Taric, and Prey's Fate's Call making a huge difference in taking out Samsung's member. They love these compositions with the immobile mid and immobile AD carry. But when you have Kalista, when you have the Fate's Call with Taric that can extend the range of somebody getting knocked up, it becomes so difficult to counteract. And being surrounded, not having to fight in a linear formation makes it that much harder for Samsung to position. And the game 1 loss with disappointing looks isn't going to be the end for them. They have looked like this before, so if you're a Samsung fan, don't get too down, although you probably already knew that this is what would have happened in the booth.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Samsung fan, you're already probably down, but there is hope. There's always hope, isn't there? Samsung, you mentioned it before, they definitely do shine against the stronger teams, but it's kind of hard. They were very far behind, and they made it back into the game off of, yeah, they had great mechanics. Yeah, they made that one big team fight work, but then again, after Longzhu's mistake, they threw it away themselves again, going for the Elder Drake. So some mistakes that could not be ignored.
This is where it all started, where the ultimate was huge and then a 3-man Fate's Call. You don't get any better than that one. That's the available targets at your disposal. And then Crown comes in to try to clean things up, but that's a 2v4 you're walking into that. They sidestep so graciously, and you can see that Cuz can even force out the cleanse by keeping his smite available. So oftentimes this smite can be considered a combat summoner, and even though Crown is robotic and he does have fancy feet, it's not going to be enough to dodge out of the stoning that BDD threw at him. And I guess this is how that fight started. He immediately lost out on the Mega Gnar. Hopping over the wall was Khan, so Cuvée had no chance after that one. Without Mega Gnar being accessible, you don't really stand a chance against Nex. You need it for that stun. You need it for the disengage. And the 4th attempt at the pick from the right side was the big play that Longzhu made.
Ruler just playing with fire. He didn't respect Sejuani's ability to jump the wall. He had to flash, and he got hunted down by the Taliyah. This is where Samsung, they win for the Elder Drake after taking Baron. This is what I was talking about. You get yourself so grouped up like this, and you give Taric the easiest Cosmic Radiance for basically his whole team, and the flank from Jax and Taliyah, your AD carry is not going to survive. Your own carries are not going to survive against the carries of the enemy team. And that's pretty similar to what we saw in the final replay as well, this final fight where Samsung, they get bunched up again. And Taric with a really nice stun into the Fate's Call. Everybody on Samsung is grouped up. And then the easiest engage for Khan after that.
And in that previous engage, it wasn't just that the carries were not in a great position, but you gotta have Corjay or a tank protect somebody from getting hit with that ultimate. If the Sejuani ultimate connects onto the important targets, they're forced to cleanse, they're forced to wait out and not position properly, and it makes things that much harder for them. So Samsung's formation needed to have a lot more held accountable before the fight started. It was obvious that they did not do so, and Longzhu punished and walks away with a Game 1 victory that, barring from that Baron that ended up going to the favor of Samsung, was pretty damn clean.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Longzhu looking pretty good on the blue side. Of course, things are going to be switched up as we enter game number 2. So 44 minutes, a very back and forth game. Samsung, they made it interesting. Definitely very good at holding on in certain situations and playing for that long game, but didn't work out for them in the end. Either way, guys, we're going to take an 8-minute break. When we come back, game number 2 of Longzhu versus Samsung. Don't go anywhere.